Okay, so here we are at 12th level. We are a 10th level Archfey Warlock and a 2nd level Barbarian. I'd considered picking up the 3rd level Berserker Barbarian because what we're going to see at 20th level is that the last level of Warlock doesn't really give us a lot, but the 3rd level Barbarian Berserker doesn't give us a lot either. So it's a toss-up between whether you want one more Eldritch Invocation or the Berserker path. And again, this is just what I rolled up randomly. If you pick a different path for the Barbarian, you can probably come up with something a little bit better. But we are beholden to the randomizer. Anyway, at this point, you will have 100,000 experience points to get to level 12. Our armor class has gone up incredibly, as you can tell, and that will have done so by level 6. By level 6, you should have this armor class. What happens is you get unarmored defense, which we will get to later. I think it's on the other sheet, which lets you have an armor class base of 10, plus your dexterity modifier, plus your constitution modifier. That's how we get to 17. With Barbarians, we are now proficient in shields, and we can wield them, and that's where we get the +2. So we now, if we are wielding a shield, we'll have a +19 to our AC. Very beneficial. Hit points have gone way up. Obviously, we've leveled up a lot. 103, not bad. Proficiency bonus has gone up as well to 4. So you will see our skills and saving throws have changed to reflect that, as well as our attack bonuses. As I said, we have changed over to a rapier. It is a finesse weapon, so we can use strength for some of our barbarian skills and feats, as well as some of the warlocks. If you choose some different feats for the warlock, they have some that synergize nicely with melee attack, especially if you choose a couple different spells. So moving on from our attacks, you'll see again we have gained shields. We are now proficient with all weapons. Nothing else has really changed there. We spend our 10 gold on a shield. By this point, by level 12, you will have a lot more equipment, a lot more gold, but there's no way for me to really know what you'll have. And that's the same with kind of these modifiers as well. You'll probably have picked up something that knocks your charisma up to 20 by now, some sort of magic item, maybe even your dexterity as well, or your strength. But we're just kind of reflecting a base. If you made this character at level 12, here's what you're looking at. With our Barbarian, we gain bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage resistance while we are raging. So this list of resistances has really expanded. And again, this is by level 7 you're going to have this. It's really fairly useful, especially if you get into a tight spot. Let's see what else has changed here. We've picked up a few more Eldritch Invocations. Dreadful Word. That one allows us to cast Confusion using a spell slot, as well as Bewitching Whispers, which lets us cast Compulsion using a spell slot as well. So again, a couple more spells that kind of deal with that mind influencer, trying to get into the psyche of our opponent. We have Misty Escape, so that when you take damage, and this is just a warlock feature, you use your reaction to turn invisible and teleport 60 feet to an unoccupied space you can see. You stay invisible until your next turn attack, you cast a spell, something along those lines. We've also taken the Warcaster feature as opposed to the ability score increase. We have advantage on our Constitution saving throws to maintain concentration, which is going to be useful for a lot of our illusion spells. We can perform our somatic components with weapons and shield in hand, and that'll be good if we're up close using our rapier and shield. And if you make an opportunity attack, you can cast a spell instead of just poking them with a stick. Let's see. We're going to have 10 D8 and 2 D12. D12, not S12. I want to say that we had also... Nope, I guess that's the next levels. Yes, I think at 12th level of Warlock, not 12th level overall, we use that ability score increase to increase our constitution and strength. So we'll talk about that once we get to it at level 20. So here we have Rage, standard for a Barbarian. Most of you probably already know. You have advantage on strength checks and saving throws. Melee attacks with strength give you a +2 to your damage. Can't cast spells while you're raging, so especially as a Warlock, you're going to want to keep that in mind. And you can do this twice per long rest. The unarmored defense we already talked about. Reckless attack gives you advantage on attacking using strength, but those against you have advantage until the next turn. And again, you can use this, I believe, only while you are raging. Danger Sense. We now have advantage on dex saves against effects that we can see, like traps, spells, that kind of thing. This is a this all right here is all from our Barbarian. Beguiling defenses, however, is an Archfey feature. We kind of ran out of room over here. Things were getting small. So I started moving things over to this block. We are now immune to being charmed. If someone attempts to charm us, we can use our reaction to kind of push the spell back on them, and they have to pass away a wisdom saving throw or be charmed. And again, that just kind of adds to one of our resistances, is now we can't be charmed. So it's very beneficial, especially as a tiefling instead of an elf. But again, now we're going into spells. You can see our spell save DC has gone up. Our spell attack bonus has gone up as well. That would have happened at level 5. And I don't know that that was reflected on the other spell sheet. Man, just all sorts of errors now that I'm actually doing this. But again, at 15th spell save DC of 15, that's kind of where I start to feel comfortable using my spells a lot more often. Just a lot more wiggle room in case they roll high. You still have a chance to get that. We have picked up the Friends cantrip. We still have Disguise Self and Sleep. Hellish Rebuke and Darkness are still there. For our level 3 spells, I believe these are all the same, but we finally picked up that Major Image. For our level 4 spells, we have Confusion and Compulsion, which we both got from those invocations. We have Dominate Beast and Hallucinatory Terrain, which basically allows you to shift the terrain around you, give people an image of what the terrain looks like that isn't real. And you can use that to kind of, like I said, influence their mind before and attempt to frighten or charm them into a situation that they would not normally be in. We've also picked up Dominate Person, Scrying, and Dream. So everything's looking pretty good at this point. Fairly strong at this level. Really just a lot that you can do with these spells. Again, you only have 2 spell slots, so you've really got to be careful just how you go about things in combat, what you do during the day, so that you're not using up all your spells too early. But again, you've got these cantrips that if you use them in conjuncture with your main spells, they can probably do you a lot more good than you think. And you're not going to be missing that Eldritch Blast when you start freaking out your opponents with all these illusions. So that is pretty much it for your 12th level. Again, things are looking pretty good. So we are going to jump into the last one, level 20, and see where we are there. So here is our 20th level character, Lazy Man Gamer. He's an 18th level Warlock Archfey and a 2-level Barbarian. Again, it's up to whether you want that one level of a Barbarian in their subclass, or if you want that final invocation. Since we had used this randomizer, the subclass that we had gotten for Barbarian was Berserker, and the invocation I thought was much better than the Berserker first level of Berserker would have been. So we have infinite experience points now because we've hit the level cap. As you'll see, we did take the ability score modifier increase to strength and constitution. Gave us a bit more hit points, and also took our armor class up by 1, so we now have an armor class of 20 because of that unarmored defense. Again, our saving throws and skills have been changed, and you can see that now we're getting a plus 10 in a lot of these skills that we'll use to kind of deceive and entice our opponents. Still sticking with the rapier, light crossbow, and daggers. Hopefully by this point you've maybe been able to pick up some magical versions of these to do a little bit more damage. We've got 15 d8 dice. That's not right. 18 d8s and 2 d12s for our hit dice. Initiative is still a +4. Quite a few hit points. Again, you'll probably have picked up a magic item or two by now that will take that initiative up, take that dexterity up. But we're looking right now at an attack bonus of +10. And with the rapier as well, you can't see the +10 because it doesn't make it unless I take out that dash. So you'll have a +8 or a +10. Nothing has changed in our proficiencies in languages. Again, nothing has changed in our equipment since 12th level. Let's see what else has changed here in our features and traits. We've gotten a few more Eldritch invocations since the last time. Let me just read through those real quick. Sculptor of Flesh. That one gives us the polymorph spell that we were allowed to use once with a spell slot. So again, it does use up one of our very few spell slots, but polymorph is a fairly decent spell, so worth it. We get Witch Sight as well, which allows us to see the shape of the true shape of any shapeshifter or creature concealed by illusion or transmutation magic. So that is quite beneficial. There's no spell associated with that, it's just something that happens. So that is quite useful. We also have Master of Myriad Forms, which allows us to cast Alter Self at will without expending a spell slot. So very useful there. Nothing else has changed here. Just give you a last glance over at this. Details. Let's see what else. We have Mystic Arcanum. So basically what that does is it gives us one free spell slot, essentially. And we'll go through and I'll show you which Arcanum spells we have taken. For instance, our first one was Mass Suggestion. So it's just a spell that doesn't use one of your spell slots. You're allowed to use them once per day or per long rest if you maybe take a long rest in the middle of the day and then get up and go out adventuring. We've also picked up Dark Delirium. It's an action. You choose one creature within 60 feet. It's got to make a wisdom saving throw. On a fail, it's either charmed or frightened by you for 1 minute. You get to choose. But the creature also thinks that it's lost in some sort of misty realm. The creature can only hear you, itself, and any type of illusion that you've created in this misty realm. So it's very interesting, definitely something you can use to your advantage. Again, don't always think frightened, don't stick them in some sort of dark, gloomy bog. Maybe send them to Valhalla for a little bit and just get them distracted thinking about something else, charm them in some way. Witch Sight, we already talked about. Skulker is a feature that we picked up, and it's basically to help us with our light crossbow and some of our stealth. It helps us hide when we're lightly obscured, and if we're hidden and miss a ranged attack, our location isn't revealed. It also removes any disadvantage that would be imposed by dim light on perception checks. So it's a pretty good all around. My thoughts between Skulker and Sharpshooter, it was kind of a toss up. I prefer Sharpshooter as a power gamer, but I think with this build, Skulker kind of fits a little bit better, because especially once you use your, let's see, at 20th level we have 4. Once you use your 4 spell slots, you kind of have to find other ways to fight. So fighting from the shadows with that crossbow I thought was a little bit better than being good with the crossbow. So cantrips haven't changed. Our spell save DC is up to 17. Spell attack bonus is +9. We have Suggestion and Alter Self here now. I believe the Alter Self is a change. Suggestion, I believe, was still there. We've picked up Magic Circle as well. I'm not sure which of these we had, so I'll just run through them all again real quick. Actually, I know we had those 4. We picked up Polymorph and Greater Invisibility, Dominate Person, Scrying, Dream, Seeming, Mass Suggestion, 4Cage, and Feeble Mind and Power Word are all our Arcanums. So again, that's something that we get to cast once per day for free. Very beneficial. So again, these spells, you've got quite a few that we've gotten extra. We've got quite a few that don't count towards our spell count, that don't count towards spell slots. So you're just going to have to be creative about how you use these. And again, be creative about combining them. Don't just think, okay, I'm going to cast Invisibility with one, and then I'm going to polymorph the beast into something else, and then, I don't know, cast Darkness on something, and then maybe we'll do a Dominate Person. Try and combine these different things. Power Word Kill, obviously, fantastic. Just go out and kill somebody. Feeble Mind allows you to take someone's, I think it's their charisma and intelligence, down to 1. So find a way to use that with these other spells that you have. And that's kind of the whole point of this build, is you may not be able to do something in round 1 or 2, but in using these spells creatively in conjunction with one another, around round 3 or 4 maybe you can spook an enemy that normally should not be spooked by continually doing these things, or rather just impede them in a way that allows your party to deal more damage, and that's kind of how you help out. But that is our 20th level character. I'll just go scroll through everything real slow so you can get another look at it, maybe pause the video, just kind of fill things out, see what's going on, just take a quick look. And I haven't forgotten about this. I'm going to come back and read it once I have scrolled through all of these. And there we are. That is our 20th level Warlock Barbarian Mind Influencer. So let's hear a little bit about this guy. Lazy Man Gamer was born to regular humans whose infernal heritage was dormant until I came along. I was born on the ethereal plane after a wizard banished my mother there. The wizard's suspicions about my mother's true identity were correct, even though she didn't know it herself. I was the 6th child, and all the others were perfectly normal, but I was the one chosen to inherit this tiefling trait. I'm unsure of what happened on the ethereal plane, but I was returned to my father. My mother, however, was never seen again. My appearance, the persecution, my father alone to raise 6 children, all these contributed to our poor lifestyle. And our large home was the remnant of a special life before I came along. A blight tore through our town's crops. Towns? Crops. That's not the first whatever, but that's the one I've chosen to focus on. Crops that year and led to the deaths of many townspeople. I'll give you one guess who they blamed. Despite all this, I was able to influence several people my age and lived a somewhat happy life among these friends. A charlatan came into our life when I was very young. He attempted to fleece my father. I can't remember what happened, but that's when I knew the power of the mind could be used to influence the weaker people. In one of my earlier adventures, I found myself back on the ethereal plane where an archfey confronted me about my ways. He was amused by me and demanded my services in exchange for information on my mother, but I first had to marry some commoner. It's easy enough to keep her in line. She's one of those weaker people. So these are all things that I, kind of sewed together from the Xanathar's Guide, This Is Your Life, random rolls. And this is just really to go and show you what you can come up with and how you can tie it into things. Like, for instance, my bond, I owe everything to my mentor. You can make that mentor either the Archfey himself or I guess the Fey. Fey, Archfey? I don't know. One or the other. Or the Charlatan. And, kind of weave those into your personality, your flaws, background, that kind of thing. And it's all very easy and doable, especially with Xanathar's Guide. Just the random rolls that you have to do. It's very easy and spelled out for you. And if you're not great at doing backstories like me, something like this you can put together in 10 minutes easily. So that is our Warlock Barbarian. Thank you guys for watching. I greatly appreciate it. If you'd like to see more of these, let me know. Again, if you have any ideas for some of these gimmicks that you might want to see, let me know. But I'm gonna go ahead and get started on the next one. And since you have made it to the end of this video, you get to see what is coming next. So we are going to refresh a couple times, just make sure this is working. And 3, 2, 1, 0. We get a Goliath, alright. Just in case something gets messed with, we'll keep that there. Again, let's refresh this, make sure that's working. Alright, 3, 2, 1. And we have a Monk Bard. Alright, so we are a Goliath, Monk, Bard. So for the Monk, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we will roll a d8 minus 1. And we got a 6, which is Sensel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, Drunken Master. 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, Drunken Master. So, Drunken Master. And for Bard, what do we have? Bard, we have 5, so we will do a d6 minus 1. 2, so we are going to be a lore bard. And lastly, our gimmicks. Okay, here. Alright. 3, 2, 1. Gimmick is... only uses melee weapons. That's going to be interesting with the Monk. We're going to have to figure out, do unarmed strikes count as melee weapons? But for sure, no spells, no ranged weapons, no offensive spells. We'll make that caveat. only melee weapons. So that'll be a pretty interesting one. So that's what you're going to get to see next time, is our Goliath Monk Bard, Drunken Master, Lore Bard, that only uses melee weapons. So if you're interested, stick around, subscribe to the channel, and I'll get that out as soon as I can.